right? Play on word. Perfect. So welcome again to our How to IMI Core Tribe session. If you're catching us live on Facebook, I believe we are going live or should be going live. And then welcome. This is where we gather on a regular basis to discuss the fundamentals of marketing, good practice that we should keep in mind when exercising our strategies, when building marketing asset, even when using AI. With the industry as it is, being fast moving with all these new tools and endless possibilities, even more so the importance now of being focused in what we are doing and understanding the process or the keywords behind every interaction that we're trying to generate, even if it's directly with the AI and eventually with our prospect or expected audience with which we're trying to build this relationship. So Dal, you're the first in, so you get all the love. Um, as usual, we will start with a round of question on specific topics of interest or things that you have been experiencing while trying to put things in place. And from there, we will go into a follow-up of what we have already been discussing or are continuously working on improving our game. So, Del, anything you want to share? Anything you have in mind or things that you are questioning now, sight and all?
No, not really. I'm just I was kind of thinking about going back to what Robert did yesterday, um,
Mhm.
and kind of um thinking about what I was going to use for a lead magnet. I did have a lead magnet in place, which I was trying to figure out. Uh, Robert kind of knows what it is, and he's not real sure whether or not it's something that is real useful. And I was trying to figure out a way to make it a little bit more easier to because it is a long process.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very intricate lead magnet that has to be put together, meaning it's very time consuming for the prospect to put together, and take some time, because it's 7 or 8 capture pages that they can create. And I was trying to figure out how to break it down into maybe 1 or 2 and give them a way to create that very quickly. And then if they want to create more, the the share codes were there
Mm-hmm.
to create more. But then I also have a a video series that I put together on exactly how to create, how to build a list, step by step, including how to set up an autoresponder, how to, starting from why you want to build a list, the idea behind it, right into how to set up an autoresponder, how to build a lead capture page, how to create set up the autoresponder series, and I put it into a PDF ebook with just a link
Mm-hmm.
for each video on my blog, and with a little, you know um, description of each in the ebook with a link at the bottom of it that they go directly to my blog. But it's so old, I need to redo it. And so I was thinking about whether that is more whether I should spend the time to redo that, um, or whether to since my audience, I'm more thinking about building an audience, building a tribe that's looking to just build uh, a small income,
Okay.
to fund hobbies, building a retiree group that just wants to build some money to help with what Medicare, what their Social Security doesn't cover. Maybe they want to take a vacation, or do those types of things. And that's a great, got backup is a great way to do that. And most of these people have grandchildren that they want to, it's very important to them to save those memories. And
Mm.
so I was thinking maybe I wanted to get with Robert to get that slide, because I missed it, of lead magnets for got backup, right? And to maybe concentrate on that and use that as my lead magnet, and just, hey, Omar, good to see you. And so I'm kind of, that's going to be my thing this week, is to figure out which one I want to spend the time um, to do. So that's where I'm at. I'm sorry to kind of jeopardize, but you asked. So
No, no, I love it. I
so,
love it. Actually,
you got it. That's where I'm
no,
at,
no,
is to,
I, I loved every piece of what I received because it falls in line actually with what I had in mind to discuss today, piggybacking off of what we got from Robert. These gold nuggets during the loss transition go a long way, right? So I definitely, this is a lot of good information. And so far, um, honestly, you are asking yourself all the right questions, right? From thinking about the process being too long and knowing, feeling that you need to make it sweeter, shorter, sweeter, you know, for the more targeted. Whatever people have to replicate when you pass it on will be easier to implement quickly, right? Uh, the positioning of your conversation when you spoke about the end audience this time. I love the fact that you were precise, right? You were precise. In the end, you chose to make a specific point of interest or pain point the defining point of your conversation. Those who are retired, who want to fill their time and earn money in this new age that could go towards things that they need that are not available, right? And that is a great audience because now you're looking at a audience of retiree that have time, less pressure, ready to learn the fundamentals, right? And even there's somebody that has their a TV up. It's throwing me off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I
Oh, it
thought I
was you?
muted myself. I apologize for it.
No, no, it's okay. It was you. It's okay. So yeah, even in the choice that you made, because first thing first, the idea of a list actually becomes a cornerstone in everything that is happening, right? You understanding how to build a list, manage that list, and coach people through the interaction of what is a soft introduction or hard introduction to a CRM approach is important. However you use your CRM in the end hovers around the list, the conversation, the problem that you're solving, the strategy, and all that, right? So you going into the business and looking at a niche that has an interest, a need that match, and that is within a realm in which you feel confident at displaying expertise is perfect. The only thing that kept uh, uh, it's like that basically word now for me. The only word that kept on like hitting me when you were describing was maybe. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. When you are hitting all the right points of questions and action, maybe, you are doing it. Do it because you are asking yourself and putting before you a level-headed choices and scalable decision. And I like that. Whatever it is that you're doing, the way you explained it was on point. Take out the maybe, and that would have been powerful delivery. I am Dell. I am here to teach you how to master the understanding of interaction to building a list, which is fundamental into handling an online business, right? So that was great. And today also what we are doing follows through to, like I said, the idea of lead magnet or using marketing asset in line with the audience conversation, with pain points, with aspiration, with interest, but benefit used as leverage to make them take decision, to get them engaged. Okay? And that's always important, understanding what is the goal uh, before even implementing a logic or process is important. It comes back to these steps that I keep hammering in this logical structure that whether we want to name it like that or not, that we are following, right? We need to define objective, collect relevant data, understand process, implement, and review and optimize. Just today, for example, that's a share. I had a meeting with it's an old collaborator. He We initially met a few years back around a conversation of a marketing project, and the connection kind of fizzled because I was traveling back and forth. And we got to meet today again, and the project had advanced. He's a heavy coder, right? And that is something that I'm not. He had a business interest that he's pursuing for 5 years, and that just shows goes to show that a business is a lifetime process when you decided to do something. So 5 years and counting doesn't even register on the radar, still passionately involved in it. And I could see from the interface that he showed me, he came to me for a marketing conversation. And at the beginning, the first thing that I asked him was, okay, well, what does your product do? Right? It was a very large question, but what I was trying to gauge, coming back to what we were discussing last time, is what exactly is your problem solving? What exactly is this offer solving as a problem? Because if we're going to market and you're bringing me the tool, you are the product. I just need to understand where are we going with this intention and this audience, because this is where all the marketing conversation starts falling into play. Coming back to active listening and me not only using this algorithmic thinking process that we were discussing, which is now something that we can't shy away from or pretend not to want to understand. It is built into the uh, power of using AI, the understanding of maximizing what you do with it, right? So this process, and again, coming back to that interaction, I learned to think algorithmically, but I'm not a coder. And I was looking at and having a conversation in front of a heavy coder. And I was really surprised when I said, when I asked him the question, what does it do? He brought me into the platform, logged into the platform from my computer, got into the interface, showed me around. From the tour, I got to understand which type of clientele this was made for, or what type of service they were offering, but he didn't answer the question. He gave me a tour of the ecosystem, right? So I asked him again, and this time more specifically, who is this for? All right. Even beyond the whole scope of service that he showed me, right? I was still trying to gauge, okay, well, what is the problem here? Who is this? Because if you're offering this to a clientele now, this whole ecosystem, right? What is the problem that it's solving so that we can start marketing this effectively? And we went on again in a roundabout conversation. I should have asked him clearly, which I did at the end. What's your marketing pitch? Or do you have an idea? What's your business pitch for this? I only asked that at the end. He said, I don't have it. I'll come back. But that's another conversation. Uh, all the facts laid forward, the coding that he was doing was amazing, right? And in all respect to the meeting that he took, he understood his limitation in terms of marketing and my also limitation in terms of coding. Uh, I asked the question again, this time more focusing on one other product or one specific category of the service. And in the end, the best way for me to describe the service was that this is a marketing agency type service catering to specific merchant, offering things to both audience of consumer that need these service and merchant category that wouldn't have a marketing system, marketing team, or a low budget. And that is important, right? Just to show that he had a defined objective as a coder and he went straight into implementing a process because he was able to code. But it doesn't mean that he now understood what was relevant in terms of marketing process. Or in the end, when you've built, you don't even know what to look for in terms of reviewing and optimizing. Because in fact, you've missed the most important points, which are answering these questions, right? So keep that in mind. It's important. Last time, what we went through was how to pick terms across the positioning of an offer when we're introduced to it to gauge the audience and the type of conversation, the type of direction that we would need to go to start building interest. Go ahead, Robert.
Before you dive into that, do you mind
Mhm.
me sharing my screen real quick for Dale to finish
Absolutely.
answering this question as well?
Go ahead.
So the other thing to consider, Dale, to simplify what you were asking, I
Mm.
would do all of them. Right? I would do all of them, and that's the beauty of being able to have now sight. So if you have, as an example, you have now sight the unlimited, well, here you go. You can go and create your teams just like that, have a link that you have there, and then you could go put a splash page in front of it with a simple button that takes them to your team section. They have to register to get into your team section. Now take them, put them onto an email list and start promoting. That's one way, right? The other way would be to do what we were talking about yesterday, right? Which is creating the PDF. And that's what I'm doing here, just working the PDF out. But I can create multiple PDFs, right? Depending on what niche and where I want to focus. This one
Mhm.
particularly, this one is updating the one that I had already, which I know is already working, which is why you will fail in network marketing and how to flip the script before it's too late. All I'm really doing, Dale, so that you can see, is I've got a table of contents and then I've got bullet points, right? So a total of 14 different things that we know happen. And then I'm just inserting images. So I'm going over here to ChatGPT, creating my images, downloading them, and then putting them right in here into Canva so that I can make a complete downloadable PDF. Now, once I make that complete downloadable PDF, again, going back to Now Site, I can now go to my website builder, and then I already have everything set up for that page. All I have to do then is just come in here and edit, and then go to the thank you page, which is where they would pick it up at. Right? Go down to where the delivery is right here to click to download, and then just change this PDF to the new updated one. Make sense, Dale? So multiple ways that you can do that, and I would recommend all of them. And the reason that I as a team section to begin with, just so that we're clear on this, is because that's where I have the video series as an example, right? So I can have people sign up in here, go to boot camp, and then here's the videos for it. Make sense, Dale? And then it's completely replicatable too. So you can go and create a website for them and give them just like you would a share code, say here as an example. I think somewhere in here. There you go, shared funnels. So if somebody wants a funnel that you built, then cool, boom. You just have them go here. They could recreate that funnel and everything is self-duplicating, so to speak, or replicating. And then, you get you 9 people underneath you and you're not paying a dime for any of your marketing tools. So, and on that, I yield. I trust that helps.
Perfect, perfect pivot for what I had in mind to do today, because I loved it when you say use them all. And I love the fact that we're looking at, okay, strategies around building lead magnets, both at the same time. Yesterday, for those who were in the lost transition, I'm still trying to go live as we are talking, and it's giving me a nightmare. It's okay, technical difficulties. But yesterday, when we were discussing, one of the big takeaways for me was the listing of these top type of converting lead magnet, because it falls in line with what we are doing or what we have been doing in first learning how to properly target the audience, learning how to understand how to move them across these different segments of our conversation, learning, in fact, how to play on these impulse, the right emotions. I also love the fact that Robert opened up with use them all, right? Because today the idea is to show you how we can build one of these, or how this could be simply done within Nowsite. And this is applicable with any other tool, right? It's the mapping of the process that I want to approach today, right? What type of website architecture are you looking at? We usually understand the fact that when you're in Nowsite at this point, with the push of a button, you can generate what a template of a funnel, right? Capture to landing page. In the lead magnet approach that, let me actually switch back to that 1 second so that I can cover that before we move to the example. In the lead magnet, you notice that each one of these funnel types or funnel approach had the value, the reward, the interest, or the reason to go forward, right? And that is so important. Like I said last time, the confusion with between, or when we say free value, is that, well, what's the value in something that is offered freely? Well, it's the interest, the passion, the time that you have invested building this offer, sharing this joint interest that makes people see the value in it. And it's through the conversation, the positioning of the experience, that they get to take the adventure with you. And that's important when you are considering the dynamics around funnel, right? The experience has to be simple, right? We last time previously on one of these IMI sessions, we built one of these simple base lead qualification systems, right? And this is a little bit of what we're going to revisit this time, looking at a more in-depth structure of how we build a conversation, what we are doing, what is the type of experience that we're giving, right? And I'm doing this again with Now Site, but at any point in time with coding, if you are doing HTML coding, you can add more functionalities. And you saw that the whole purpose behind this when we build it was to make it game-like, right? No things, no restriction until the end, right? Building an interest every step of the way, right? And this is what we're going to be doing this time differently for the backup memory lane example that I started with. The reason why I chose to go back to that, obviously, we've been working on it since the last session, means what? I have covered a lot of the things that I need, right? Sorry, where's my
Excuse me.
map there? Did I close it? Well, in my research, I did my research and implementation. I think I closed the slide by default, but in what we were doing, no, it's right here. With all this that has been done, I covered this, right? And last time we left off after we did the rating of the conversation, the UVP, at this stage where I was ready to create something, right? So it's a logical step for me to continue with this example, okay? And it's also a way to see how you adapt these conversations, because I didn't go too in depth in the building of this one. I was thinking about doing it live with you, but after going over the steps and positioning it, it would have been too much of a speed through to get you guys to properly follow through, right? And here again, I'm using this same approach, non-restrictive, building on curiosity, right? And I think in every funnel, for every funnel, I don't care what you will say, the first conversation, the first contact is the most important, right? Because this is where you decide fright or flight. If you stopped, you're interested. Do you fly with that feeling or do you fry it away? I'm sure if I'm using that expression properly, but it would be it. I see something, I'm interested. What do? There's a situation, there's a happening. How do I react? Do I pull away to be safe? And again, coming back to that safe and trust issue in the conversation, which is so important to build in the first contact, right? Am I safe or enough? Do I trust that nothing will happen? This is fun. Let's get in, right? So this is an example, me showing how technically what type of emotion buildup I would be trying to put forward here. We understand the schematics of this conversation, interest, intention, call to action, right? And in this conversation, if we're going back to the logic of building a funnel with one of these patterns or goals in mind, let me go back to it here, whether it's a checklist, right? Because depending on what you choose to do, depending on which tool you have, this strategy might need to be adapted, okay? Just to make sure that we are still following through the same pattern of algorithmic thinking, because no mistake, I'm not going to write all this. I'm going to do it with AI, but I need to have the right goal in mind. I need to know how to leverage AI properly so I can get to the core of what I need. And that conversation will go back in circle, but hey, we had it here. Who's the more powerful when it comes to AI? The one who knows how to code it or the one who knows how to speak to it so that it does the coding, right? And that's important. Case even discussed today, in perspective today, this interaction, heavy coder. I don't know code, but we can talk sense into the process, right? I can leverage that understanding. And this is why I want to drill these process into you. If you are not interacting properly with the AI, every step of what you're doing, you're misusing a tool, right? So in line with what we're doing, and this brings me back to what? Collecting data, understanding the process, right? There's one thing here between these two, you see how I have them lined up together or connected together, is because you will be going back and forth sometimes. Just like your objective, when you define your objective and you go collect relevant data, you might need to come back and adjust this objective, scale it down, right? Understanding now what are the steps that you will need to increase it, breaking it out to that simple process. Same thing here. You go into the implementation based on this understanding. While you're going to that implementation, well, limitation can occur that will force you to come back to the initial root of the process, how you understood it, right? And in fact, it's the same thing that happened here. When I started here, I didn't write this prompt because I thought it was an obvious one. I want to build a funnel for this offer, right? And of course, he gave me all the information that I expected it would, right? And since coming in, I went with the first one. I said, well, this is the obvious source. I'll do the checklist. Why not? All right. So I'll do the checklist. It's cool, right? With the right questions. If you love conversation, if you're asking the right question, then you're playing on curiosity. Curiosity is always good, especially if there's no commitment. It's a safe bet, right? Okay. Well, I don't, it's just curiosity killed the cat. They said it, right? So it's a great thing to play on. So checklist, why not? Now, I went into my case study, and the first thing that was important for me was the questions, which I loved, right? Knowing that I had positioned properly the audience, the conversation, the question were for me on point. Not too complicated, but most likely shared event, right? I wanted a series of questions that would be yes or no, simply facts, right? And the idea is that if I take you through the funnel steps, us agreeing to facts, one, you are following, two, you are agreeing. That's the beginning of a great relationship, right? Simple things. If I say yes, 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 always, you start becoming accustomed to that, and you feel that this is the answer that you're going to get out of me, and the conversation always will be pleasant. When I come to you, I'm going to get a bunch of lists. If I'm getting a bunch of no's, then yeah, right? So, and you can play on that, yes or no. And this was actually the goal. In the first offer, the AI started talking to me about scoring. With the robustness of now side, there are certain things that cannot be done. I wanted to keep it within. Otherwise, very simply, we know that we can go to the Google Forms, create these forms, have our rating system, bring it back in. But I didn't want to address that. I want to keep it simple, showing that staying to the navigation process, right? So I have my questions, right? Understanding the limitation, I switched objective, changed the funnel objective. Now I wanted something that was, self-quiz, video demo, and sign up. Working with my AI, we both agree that I could keep the same question. That was the most important for me, right? We're going to take the journey together, and I'm going to describe. I haven't put the question yet. And I think every website should be built progressively, or every asset should be built progressively in this approach. Lay out the infrastructure, right? What is the step-by-step experience? While you're doing that, well, if you're capturing, then automatically we're thinking about email campaigns, right? So already you're positioning yourself for that first part of your segment, right? Acquisition, right? So every website should be approached like that. Lay out the architecture, come back, look at the conversation because this is what they buy into. And in the end, we approach the look and feel. And since we have done our brand study, we already know where we're going in terms of color choice and whatnot. So the focus is really here. Again, that's the difference between a website that converts or not. The interaction, right? So you can see that the idea here being very non-restrictive, the question that I picked to start is a common question. Did you ever, and even in this positioning, you should notice something, right? Did you ever had to delete a precious moment? You forget moment, right? But me talking about deleting is putting something in perspective. Do we agree? From the beginning, with one word, right? If you're looking at this, you understand, well, yeah, and by a raise of hand from 1 to 10, who never had to delete a precious moment? If you say, no, I never had to delete a precious moment, I'm like, wow, how much data do you got going on there, right? Or do you never have precious moment? Because I had to delete some. Sometimes you're making those choices all the time. So this is an obvious yes, right? Of course, there's a lot of trust factor missing here. The footer should have my social media so that they know who's engaging them in this conversation, right? Um, the next page, and you will let me know which type of asset in the end I ended up using. I want to do the navigation, and tomorrow we'll go into the build by build type product, build by build step there, or step by step building process. I'm auto stating what I'm saying. But here I just wanted to make what is the most important obvious: the experience, the navigation, the conversation, and what this conversation is meant to do, meaning how have I prepared myself for it, right? And we're using, again, to be plain, we're using tools simply and offered in this section. Redirection tools. Redirection tools are more than enough to get the job done, right? Whenever you're trying to create a workflow or a client experience, redirection word links are all that you need. Point taken, when you build these assets, it's on Facebook that you're publishing them, redirecting them to the actual asset with those links, right? I didn't yet put the pictures or questions up. I just labeled them as such, right? The idea here is, since I couldn't score, I decided to use these questions and gamify this approach. Still going on that idea of, well, I'm not asking you to give me any information. I'm asking you to agree to facts or not, right? And if I got you to accept the first one, I always have these three possibilities, right? Yes, no, maybe. That's the client state of mind anyways, right? Based on those conversation, if you're making this you're gamifying this, then you have to plan the outcome. What happens if they say yes? What happens if they say no? What happens if they say maybe? Coming back to that algorithmic thinking, coming back to these what, who, how, when, coming back to, okay, well, what is the next step, right? I use 3 case scenarios since we have 3 type of clients conversation, right? I'm using that. Again, it's an example trying to get a point across, but I hope you'll see logic in this. It is also allowing me to add in these cell psychology notions that we've been using, right? By default, if a conversation starts with a yes, it's a great conversation. If a conversation starts with a no, it's going to be a hard conversation. If a conversation is the maybe, it could be something of a complex situation there. I don't want to make a choice. Why? Because, especially if we're discussing fact. So just based on that, right, I want to prepare for my next experience. So what happens when they say yes? Okay. If every great conversation starts with a yes, then what do? We reinforce it. Of course, it's a yes. Whatever it is that the action next will lead to, right? Interest, intention, call to action. If I take that action, you have to reinforce that interest. You have to reinforce that conversation, right? So this is the general emotion room in which you want to put this client once they react. Reinforce, right? And most of us using this solution, community, people follow crowds. These notions are now being put into play in this conversation, right? In the intent of this asset, this page is an asset, right? You said yes, you fall into the agreeable client. This is a simple client, and we know how to interact with a simple client. And you know, again, what are the choice? I want to avoid fright. Not going to go into complicated demonstration in this space. They said, yes, it's easy going, right? I'm going to fuel that fire to get them to take flight with this. In this case, I entered the promotional offer that you have going on or that I saw going on the website asset offered by the house. So I'm making use of these assets, right? And reward the effort. Love bombing, right? You heard me say this and insist on this. Whenever there is an action, a favorable action in your direction, you want to reinforce that, right? Reward the effort. And at this point, you can get a gift. I'm giving you a guide. One of these gifts from our asset checklist, right? There. Plan for your fright and your flight. What happens, right? In this case, what I did is I used it to go back to the initial conversation, right? That's the best outcome for me. Don't leave the platform. Go back to the initial page. And well, there's more questions there. What happens if I used to love playing these, reading. I was introduced to Dungeons and Dragons when I was a young age. So I love these type of games. Then I didn't have a lot of friends that were playing with those games. And I discovered these books where they riddle you, right? They write you a story, and every paragraph they give you a choice to make. Go left, go right, do this. And based on that, you map out a journey through the book. Crazy interesting. Sometimes while you're dead, you have to go back or close the book you lost. Or it was I'm pretty sure they still make these books. It was a genius set of books. For those who don't read, and that was me, I had hit because of the dyslexia thing. I only took to certain type of books. These books, I was eating them because you're living the story. You become the character, right? You're not just passively reading the book. You're taking actions, right? And there are consequences. So in this case, gamify, right? Fright, come back. There are more questions. It could have been a back button in this case or something else, right? What happens if we say no? No, well, no pleasant conversation starts with a no, right? So what are we doing in this case? All right. Same thing. Reinforcement. If in this case, my questions are weighing gain or loss, meaning, did you have to do this or did you? No, well, it's never a good feeling. Again, reinforcement. In this case, I'm looking at what? A simple but complex client, I would say. Okay. He said no, he made a choice. He couldn't just not answer and not move along. In my conversation or approach, or in this case study, I'm saying, well, this is a bad move. Well, you know, right? I agree with you. And this is where the conversation generally in this page would go, right? If you said no, you might need more information. This is the first type of objections or the first nature of level of objection. Then invite Q's and A's in this section. Provide more facts. Show expertise. Right? Because whenever you have an objection in front of you in a conversation or in exchange, what they are asking is, what they're manifesting is an objection. Right? If the conversation was over, it would be okay, okay, I got you, bye. That's it. Oh, well, no, it's okay. I have no questions. That's the worst thing. Right? Having a conversation and stop abruptly, you're like, well, right? So a no is an objection that forces you in these type of approach, right? So you can see that what I'm trying to do here is not only, okay, well, this is the journey, this is the conversation, this is the flow, this is a strategy, right? In my approach, this is how I'm segmenting these different steps or these different points of interest, right? Now, showing expertise. In this case, notice I didn't talk about the features of the product, right? In this case, if there is a no, and I'm trying to showcase expertise, then leveraging one of the features of the product becomes interesting, right? And one of the key things is, well, when I see this number, and I understand that most servers give me about this number, and knowing the amount of the weight that a good, a high HD 4K, how many ultras they are doing right now, whatever ultra they're doing weighs, I'm going to run out of space soon, especially if I have a large family with all high definition iPhones and such, right? Very important. And key facts. If you are trying to display expertise, facts are where you go. If you're trying to overturn objections, facts are where you go, right? So this is the nature of the conversation. And again, so far, only now am I offering a direct contact, right? Because you have invited me for that. Have more questions? Great, I'm available. Let's talk live to live, right? The objection is not a bad thing. It's an invitation if you know how to turn it into one proper, right? So more concerns. Did you know we offer more facts? I'm going to go back to the first fold again. Same thing. Having fun with this, right? The client can come here. Well, this is fun. Let me click and see what happens. Spend time here. And after, you know what? Let me sign up for something that will keep on giving. But if you get to that last question and you don't click for anything, right? There's a plan for that. Maybe. Obviously, the last type of conversation or space that we can fall into addressing the company, the conversation is that one. Maybe. Here I said it's a complex but simple, meaning that, well, since you're not sure, we have to overcome this hurdle first, and then go into these line of objection handling and facts that you need to get you to move. In this case, coming back to the idea of being able to integrate stuff, this is where you would, for example, in a case like this, chose to bring heavier guns. I can have a scoring system there. You have played around with the tool. You have made the first choice. This is another form of game. Why not? And in the end, we all know what happens when there's a submission. You get to collect the information. This goes to an outside CRM. You basically bring it back. So already there, as I'm setting up these conversations, these flows, I'm also mapping my workflow between platforms, all right? Ideally, and I'm a strong advocate of that, you want to keep everything in one space, right? Simply put, it allows you to acquire more speed in execution. Of course, combination of tools in the end are inevitable when you start hitting some new threshold of needs, right? Coming back to that conversation around the conversion process and automating it. Only when we have scaled our business to a certain size can we now look at automating the process. And even then, there's still an element of customer service, a human aspect, if any, to monitor the interaction that is required, right? So that is something that you get to do. And you can see here, same process in this conversation flow. I had my first, second, three question. This is one question with three options, same dynamics, right? If I didn't get you here, if these were not things that you were concerned with answering, then we'll go into more specific functionalities. My group of questions will be targeting that, right? If you didn't get the emotional part as a hook to click, it might mean that at a glance, you recognize these issues and you're looking for more. So we'll go into certain functionalities, right? And this is also in the perspective of staying within Now site, using that CRM and offering more gifts, right? If you like the experience, stay in touch for more information, more promo, more demos, right? And we work on that same appeal to the interest for non-restricting or non-obligating exchange, right? It's not a free gift, okay? That's one of the things that we have to understand. We use that word, but we have to also understand what this means, right? It's not a free gift. It's a moral exchange. It's an exchange of value. It's an exchange of passion invested towards an interest that you're seeking. This is the mind frame that makes your service valuable to them. Right? Very important. It comes back to that.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for anybody that's watching or listening, whenever you hear me say give to get, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You're giving them something of value to get something of value to you, which is their name and email so that you can continually market to them. On that, a yield.
For me, I want to add to that, right? It's even more than that. The email and the name is the mechanical aspect of it. What you're offering is a relationship. Start with that mind frame, always, right? Especially right now that AI is rampant, right? You can do it alone. Why are you seeking me, Dell? Why are you seeking these people? For example, you niched it right. You retired and you most likely weren't doing network marketing. You most likely weren't tech savvy, and you have a need that I can build on. You have an audience, and there's a relationship that comes with that, right? So even beyond that, because when you stop down at that, that exchange of value just being that transactional nature of how it unfolds, right? I think you take away value from your true intent. Giving to get, right? If I'm giving, it's with all my heart as a relationship building moment, right? I'm very strong on that. Maybe some will say, well, you will never break into such certain amount of millions if you don't change that heart. But that is so important. And this is what you want to make the audience feel when they're reading your content, right? Becomes that much more important these days. People are reading at a glance, trying to gauge if it's AI or you, meaning, are you true? Right? And make no mistake, certain words that are not placed properly in your conversation will put a red flag in somebody's mind. Just like the idea of starting with, have you ever deleted a memory? Set them on the trek. Oh, we're talking data here, right? Sometimes we'll place words in a space, or AI will place word in a space for us, and we'll say, yeah, it sounds very good. But it's actually echoing in the heart, the mind of the person in a different way that we expected. Right? This is why it's so important to read that content, to master, to drive that tool, right? And have that we are human and we need to start thinking like the machine. And it's because we are human that we can think like the machine. We can set aside certain emotion and go into that logic. But it doesn't mean that we leave them aside. We bring them back in when it counts in this relationship idea that is being a paid endorser, being a brand ambassador, being a network marketing affiliate, right? Affiliation is born out of relationship, right? And technically, we're looking on legacy at the end, retention. And the greatest retention span is a lifetime of a relationship to have with one person. That's a lot of time that you're preparing yourself to spend them with. So that relationship is what you're offering at the beginning as well. Right? So keep that in mind, relationship, and have that word or a facet of it part of your conversation. It's that community thing, right? Where do I go in the end if I have questions? Don't worry, we have a community there. We get along. We love each other. We love the product. So keep that in mind. Seed that relationship in the conversation and put it at the forefront of what you're doing. All right? Because in the end, these people will say, well, you mean that you're going to take the time to teach me, coach me, and make this profitable for me? Yeah, that's the relationship that we're offering. This is who I embody as a coach, as a leader, as your brand ambassador, right? So, and that's that passion that I spoke of yesterday. When that is embedded in what you do and say, people echo, I want some of that joy. With that, we will see each other tomorrow. Think about applying these to your actual business interests. Tomorrow, come out blazing with some questions or some case study of brand, and we'll repeat this process because repetition is father of learning. Cool. Have a good rest of the day and
Good
see you
stuff, brother.
tomorrow.
Have a great day, everyone. See y'all tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. Yep. Take care.